US Congress submits damning Nigeria report to Trump, threatens sanctions over alleged Christian persecution. Welcome to our channel. If this is your first time, kindly hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell. So let's dive in. The diplomatic stakes between Nigeria and the United States escalated dramatically on Monday as American lawmakers delivered a comprehensive investigative report to the White House that could fundamentally reshape bilateral relations between the two nations and potentially trigger severe economic and political consequences for Africa's most populous country. And the United States House Committees on Appropriations and Foreign Affairs officially submitted to President Donald Trump a detailed report outlining their findings and recommendations on what they describe as the systematic persecutions of Christians in Nigeria. The document, months in the making, represents one of the most serious challenges to Nigeria's international standing in recent years and threatens to strain the historically close relationship between Abuja and Washington. The report submission follows President Trump's controversial decision to redesignate Nigeria as a country of particular concern for religious freedom violations, a designation that carries significant diplomatic and potential economic ramifications. Following this redesignation, and Trump mandated Congressman Riley Moore and Appropriations Committee Chairman Tom Cole to lead a comprehensive investigation into the alleged persecution of Christian communities by terrorists and the broader security challenges engulfing Nigeria. Congressman Moore confirmed the submission of the report through his official X handle on Monday evening, marking the culmination of an intensive investigation that has taken American lawmakers deep into Nigeria's complex security landscape. The congressman had previously led a high-profile delegation on a fact-finding mission to Nigeria, where they visited internally displaced persons camps in Benue State, conducted interviews with terrorism victims, and held meetings with senior government officials, including National Security Advisor Nuhu Ribadu. The comprehensive nature of the investigation is evident in its methodology. The report's findings stem from interviews with expert witnesses, formal hearings and roundtables in Washington, two separate on-the-ground assessments conducted through bipartisan congressional delegations to Nigeria, and close coordination with the Trump administration. This multi-pronged approach has lent considerable weight to the document's conclusions and recommendations. Moore stated that the American investigative team now possesses what he described as a clear picture of the security threats facing Nigeria and the alleged persecution that Christians endure in various parts of the country. His characterization of the situation suggests that the report's findings may be more damning than many Nigerian officials anticipated. In what appeared to be both a warning and an olive branch, Moore emphasized that it remains expedient for the Nigerian government to seize the opportunity to deepen and strengthen its relationship with the United States. He framed the moment as critical for both nations, stating that addressing these pressing security challenges and ending violence against Christians serves mutual interests. The report details what congressional investigators describe as concrete steps to impose accountability measures, counter radical Islamic terrorism, and outlines an ambitious plan to work in coordination with the Nigerian government to ensure security for all citizens, regardless of religious affiliation. However, the document also contains provisions that Nigerian sovereignty advocates will likely view as intrusive or neo-colonial in nature. Down among the report's most controversial recommendations is the establishment of a bilateral US-Nigeria security agreement specifically designed to protect vulnerable Christian communities and dismantle what the report terms jihadist networks operating across Nigeria. This proposal would involve direct American involvement in Nigeria's internal security operations, a prospect that has historically met resistance from Nigerian nationalists and sovereignty-conscious officials. Perhaps most concerning for the Nigerian government is the recommendation to withhold certain United States funds pending demonstrable action by Nigerian authorities to stop violence against Christians. This conditional approach to bilateral assistance represents a significant departure from traditional diplomatic engagement and could have immediate economic consequences for various sectors dependent on American aid and investment. The report also calls for implementing sanctions and visa restrictions against individuals and groups deemed responsible for or complicit in religious persecution. This recommendation raises the specter of Nigerian officials traditional rulers, security personnel, or even state governors facing travel bans and asset freezes if Washington determines they have failed to protect Christian communities or have been complicit in violence. Additional recommendations include providing technical support to the Nigerian government specifically aimed at curbing violence attributed to armed Fulani militias, either a characterization that has proven contentious within Nigeria, where many view farmer-herder conflicts through a more nuanced lens involving land disputes, climate change, and resource competition rather than purely religious motivation. In what is likely to prove the most diplomatically explosive recommendation, the report demands the repeal of Sharia and blasphemy laws currently in force in several northern Nigerian states. This call for fundamental changes to legal systems that millions of Nigerian Muslims view as integral to their religious identity represents an unprecedented level of American intervention in Nigeria's internal governance and threatens to inflame religious tensions rather than resolve them. The report also emphasizes working with international partners, including France, Hungary, and the United Kingdom, suggesting a coordinated Western approach to pressuring Nigeria on religious freedom issues. This multilateral dimension indicates that Nigeria may face pressure from multiple Western capitals simultaneously, complicating diplomatic management of the crisis. Following the White House meeting, Moore expressed gratitude to President Trump for redesignating Nigeria as a country of particular concern and praised the administration's commitment to what he described as protecting Christians from persecution and addressing broader security challenges plaguing Nigeria. The Nigerian government has not issued an official response to the report's submission, though sources within the presidency suggest that officials are reviewing the document carefully before crafting a comprehensive reply. The sensitivity of the issues raised, combined with Nigeria's pride as Africa's largest economy and most populous nation, virtually guarantees that any response will attempt to balance diplomatic pragmatism with assertive defense of national sovereignty. Security analysts and diplomatic observers note that the report arrives at a particularly delicate moment for Nigeria, which faces unprecedented security challenges across multiple fronts, including Boko Haram insurgency in the northeast, banditry in the northwest, separatist agitations in the southeast, and farmer-herder conflicts across the Middle Belt. The country's security forces are stretched thin, and government resources are strained by competing demands. Critics of the American report argue that it oversimplifies Nigeria's complex security situation by framing it primarily through a religious persecution lens, when in reality, violence affects Nigerians of all faiths and often stems from competition over resources, political grievances, and criminal opportunism rather than religious ideology alone. They point out that Muslims have also suffered tremendously from terrorism and banditry, with entire Muslim communities displaced and thousands killed. Supporters of the investigation counter that regardless of the complexity of underlying causes, the reality remains that Christian communities in certain regions face targeted violence. Church attacks continue with alarming frequency, and government response has been inadequate. They argue that international pressure may be necessary to catalyze meaningful action where domestic political will has proven insufficient. So, as Nigeria awaits official reaction from its government and prepares for potential diplomatic and economic consequences, the submission of this report marks a critical juncture in U.S.-Nigeria relations and raises fundamental questions about sovereignty, religious freedom, international intervention, and how the global community should respond when governments struggle to protect vulnerable populations within their borders.